So in this video, I'm going to be showing you some free resources that I use on the internet to learn SQL. And at the same time, I'm going to show you a practical example, a free database that is downloadable from a website. I would leave the links to the downloads in the description of the video. Most importantly, we're going to go through an example. As you guys can see here, this is a question that I have. We are to create an email address for employees in the format first name, last name at adventureworks.com. Now, the database that we're playing with is AdventureWorks. Like I said, I use Azure, Microsoft Azure as my server. And on this server, my local host has the persons to persons table, which I will show you. It's under the database, AdventureWorks, as you can see, 2017, free, downloadable on the internet. I click on AdventureWorks. Here, I'm going through the tables and I have looking for persons to persons. So this is persons to persons. It's from this table that we're going to be getting the information. So first query would be select all from person to person. I run that first query and it tells me that I have 19,000 rows, as you can see at the bottom, and many columns: business, entity, ID, person type, name style, title, first name, middle name, last name, suffix, email, promotion, additional contact info, role guide. So what I'm trying to pull from this data set is to create an email address for the employees in the format F, as you can see, F dot last name at adventureworks.com. So it is pretty much creating an email address with each employee's first alphabet of their first name, and a dot comes after the alphabet. Then their last name comes after the dot at adventureworks.com. So this is how that is going to work. We're going to be using two functions, the SUBSTRING function and the CONCAT function. This is how it is implemented. So I like arranging my queries to look nice. So I will pull the from onto the next line. I'm taking out the asterisk symbol that represents all. So now I will be selecting, because I'm trying to create an email address for employees in the format first name, last name, adventureworks.com, and the column email. The column with this information should be named email. So let's select first name, okay, comma, last name. Now the third column that we're going to be creating is the email column with the first name, last name, and AdventureWorks. So this is how I will be using my SQL to pull out that information. I start with the concat function. It already pulls it out, the IntelliSense. I double click concat. It pulls out the bracket right after the concat. And concat basically, as you can see here, the function concat requires at least two arguments. Built-in functions, concat, it has the expression, minimum of two arguments. So inside the bracket, my first argument will be a substring, because what the substring does, I'm introducing the substring function, because what it does, according to this free resource that I use on the internet, which I will show you right away, on w3schools.com, substring function There is a lot of information on this particular website. This is where I learn SQL, okay? But basically what substring function does is it extracts 3 characters from a string starting in position 1. So if you type substring, it opens up a bracket also. The first argument is the place where you want to extract information from, and then you type in the comma. The second information, the second argument is the position that you want to extract stuff from. So in this table, I'm just going to go into my example that I'm using. So in this case, when we introduce the substring with the CONCAT on the outside, substring brings another bracket. And that makes sense because the CONCAT is responsible, it's going to concatenate everything inside this outer bracket, and inside the outer bracket are the substrings, if that makes sense. So the substring, the information that goes in there will be the first name, because I'm trying to pull out the first alphabet of the first name. So it'll be the first name column. So I'm typing in first name, comma. Now it brings out another information after the first comma. So you can see here, it says starting position integer. So it requires an integer, which is a number. I need SQL to pull out the first alphabet in the column first name. So I type in 1 as the position of the integer that I want to pull out. That's 1, comma, length. That is the next argument. Length of integer. I'm just going to use 1 because if I use 2, then it might pull out the first 2 alphabets, but I need it to pull out just the first alphabet. So I use 1. Now I can go outside of the first bracket. Okay. Comma. I'm back to concatenation. If you go under W3 school and you look for concat, the concat function add several strings together. That is the usefulness of the concat. So I come back here, and what I'm trying to add to the first initial will be the last name. So I type in last name. I hope this makes sense, because to the first initial, I need to add a dot before the last name. So I actually need to add a dot according to the email format before the last name. So I introduce the dot here before the last name. And to introduce a dot under a concatenation, you would have to put the dot in a single quotation. So the quotation is 1 quote, 2 quote. Back into the middle of the quote, I put a dot. Back outside the second quote, I put a comma. Then last name. So what this does is it generates a column, the first name column, which is this, the last name column, which is that, and a third column that I'm creating. But the third column is a concatenation of the substring 11 from the first name added to a dot, added to the last name, and added to, because we're trying to create an email, and the email address is at adventureworks.com. Hopefully that works. I used double quotes. I have to correct myself. It's a single quote. In Excel, you use double quotations, but in SQL, you use single quotes. So change this to single quotes. Hopefully this works. Keep my fingers crossed. Let's see what it generates. Run. And it works perfectly. So I have the first name, last name column, And this other column that has no column name. So I made a mistake, but it brought out the correct result because I have the first name, the dot, last name at adventureworks.com for every single person, 19,000 rows. So that's how you generate information. Now, in order for me to name this column as email, according to the question that I'm playing with, all I have to do will be I come outside my bracket because all of this has to be named as, let's say, email. Email. I run the query one more time, and this is what I get. You see, the email is the name of the column, and the information in the column is the emails to these employees. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the content, click on the like button, share the video, subscribe, learn data analysis skills just like me. I began a couple of months ago, and I am glad to show you the progression in my journey towards becoming a data analyst. Peace.